daily devotional. We are moving on into, we're going to look at the first chapter of Ephesians, and we're going to start with the fourth verse, and it goes like this. God chose us in Christ to be holy and blameless in God's presence before the creation of the world. God destined us to be his adopted children through Jesus Christ because of his love. This was according to his good will and plan, and to honor his glorious grace that has given us freely through the Son whom he loves. We have been ransomed through his Son's blood, and we have forgiveness for our failures based on his overflowing grace, which he poured out over us with wisdom and understanding. God revealed his hidden design to us, which is according to his good will and the plan that he intended to accomplish through his Son. This is what God planned for the climax of all times, to bring all things together in Christ, the things in heaven along with the things on earth. So we talked yesterday about how big God is, how big God, the God of the Bible is. And one of the ways that people have thought about God being big is to also see that God is remote. They say God is up there in the sky. He's doing things from up above and doesn't really care about the nitty-gritty stuff that's happening in our little world because God is remote. God has set the world into motion, and that is done. Now God is done. God set the world in motion and let it go. That's called deism, and it was a very popular belief, especially around the time of the founding of America, that God was remote and that humans had to take control. We had to be in charge. We had to make things happen on our own if they were going to happen. And that's the opposite of what's called panentheism, which is the idea that God is so near, that God is literally inside of nature, that God and nature essentially are one. And the truth is, the Bible tells us that God is somewhere in between. God is both near and far. That God is both big as all things and as near as a drop of rain. And that God is involved and has an active plan for our creation. Now, you may have heard the idea of the arc of history. This was especially popular. Martin Luther King talked about this a lot. The arc of history bending towards justice, or the arc of history bending towards salvation of all people. And that's the evidence that we see in Ephesians, that over time, at the end of time, whenever that is, God is going to redeem the creation. God is going to redeem all of us. That God, from the beginning of time, gave us grace and claimed us. And so we live in a world that is constantly being interacted with by God, and constantly is being moved towards the ultimate reconciliation of the world, of what God intends for the world to be. And so our responsibility is to look out for those signs of where is God acting, where is God moving, bending that arc towards justice, where is God bending the arc towards the redemption of the world, and how do we get involved in that? How do we shine light on those moments? That's our job as Christians, to remember that God, while God is big and far and can do everything, God chooses to work through small things, through children and raindrops and grasshoppers and you and me. And so it's our job to get involved in that arc of justice. And ultimately, that's what brings hope to the hopeless places. God bless.